A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continuously in the tabernacle of the congregation, and it shall be a statute forever in your generation.
The eternal light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light, prepared under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Today's story, written by Morton Wishengrad, is entitled A Chassidic Tale and features Richard Keith as the narrator and Will Geer as the rabbi. This whole thing happened to me, Avram Isaacson, 135 years ago. Now, if you ask me how it is that a man does not stop talking after 135 years, I will give you a proper answer. It's none of your business. Now, let's understand one another. If you want to argue, I can argue. But if you want to be reasonable, please sit where you are and be quiet while I, Avram Isaacson, will tell you. Myself, I'm not a fool, you understand. When I was younger, the old rabbi, may he rest in peace, said to me, Avram, he said, you are a person of what I might describe as the middle measure. Neither a very great scholar, nor a very small ignoramus. So, instead of becoming a student of the Talmud, I became a wagon driver. You understand, I'm not altogether a fool. Still, this has nothing to do with my story. Well, to make matters short, ours was a small town in the Ukraine on the Polish frontier. Not a rich town, not a poor town. A town of middle measure. Well, one day there came to the town a rabbi, one of those who called themselves Chassidim. Myself, I did not know much of the Chassidim. But I learned, as I was saying, this rabbi came to our town. A total stranger he was.
We've already got one rabbi. Tell him, Avram.
You. Tell him we've already got a rabbi.
My friend, they say we already have a rabbi.
May he live to be 120 years.
We already have a rabbi. May he live to be 120 years.
Tell him my name is Eliezer.
Avram, he says his name is Eliezer.
All right, so his name is Eliezer.
He says all right.
Tell him I'm a Hasidic rabbi.
And what is a Hasidic rabbi?
I believe in the love of God and the love of man.
He says he believes in the love of God and the love of man.
I believe that it is sinful to be melancholy. Men must approach God through prayer, but the prayer must be full of joy and ecstasy.
You heard what he said?
I heard. Tell him we already have one rabbi in this town.
Nevertheless, I shall settle in this town.
But we barely support our own rabbi. How in the name of heaven can we support another? How can...
Listen. Once, there was a goose. Not a very large goose, not a very small goose.
A goose of middle measure.
Exactly. And this goose was owned by a thoughtless master who sometimes forgot to feed her.
Well?
The goose suffered.
Naturally.
One day, the master bought a rooster and placed it in the same coop with the geese.
But the goose was already hungry?
That's what the goose said.
Oh.
Now I shall surely starve, said the goose. There are two of us to eat from my small portion. But the rooster said, "Don't worry. I can crow when I feel hungry. This will be a reminder to our master, and then we'll both be fed. I shall settle in this town."
That is how Rabbi Eliezer came to our town with roosters and geese. Almost immediately there was trouble. I, Avram Isaacson, I had nothing to do with him. He was an instrument of Satan. I told him so. Myself, I'm not a scholar, you understand. But I know that scholars should be busy with the study of the Talmud instead of playing checkers. Can you imagine what I'm saying? He found scholars playing checkers, and even I know that checkers are not an especially holy pastime. Yet he refused to scold them.
Aha. Aha. 2 for 1.
What a shame, what a waste. Rabbi Eliezer, why don't you drive them to the house of study?
Why should I?
Because, Rabbi Eliezer, because I am only a wagon driver. But I know that it is written, he who does not increase his knowledge decreases it.
Avram, you may learn much wisdom from the rules of this game.
From checkers? A likely story.
Yes, Avram, you may learn from playing a game of checkers. See? You surrender 1 in order to capture 2. You may not make 2 moves at one time. You must move up, but not down. But when you reach the top, you may move as you like. Yes, even in the rules of the game of checkers, there is much wisdom.
And you call yourself a rabbi? You're a fraud. If they want to remain here, it's all right with me. I'm leaving.
Rabbi Eliezer,
Yes?
Avram insulted you.
Perhaps.
I'm sorry. You should have answered him.
No. My own teacher, may God bless his memory, never expressed his displeasure on the day a person offended him. He would wait for the next day. Then he would say, "Yesterday I was displeased with you, but today is today and a new day." Go on with your game. I find pleasure in watching you.
Now, you see, he won them over with deceit and with trickery. But he couldn't win me over, not Avram Isaacson. In the house of study, we read, he sang. When we carried the Holy Scroll from the ark, we walked soberly as befits the house of worship. Did he walk? He danced. Is that the way to commune with God, dancing and singing? It was a black day when he came. And it wasn't enough for him to do this. He made the others dance and sing. I tell you, it was a revolution. Nothing was sacred. The cantor would be rehearsing the Sabbath. Now, if I say so myself, here's a proper tune for the Sabbath. But what would he do, this Eliezer? Scandal? Is this the way to worship God? Laughing and, God forbid, almost making jokes? Avram, he said to me, God does not like a sour face. Well, I like a sour face. It's my face. The sight of him was enough to make my mouth fill with live coals, in a manner of speaking. You would think the people would catch on to him, discover him to be what he really was. But no. They used to come to him with their problems. Would I come to him? Not Avram Isaacson. But they came, including Feivel, the farmer, who was as poor as a synagogue mouse.
Rabbi Eliezer.
Yes, Bible.
It's impossible, Rabbi Eliezer.
What is impossible?
My house.
What about your house?
I have 1 room. We can't turn around. Me, my wife, 6 sons, 4 daughters, my wife's uncle, may his name not be erased, my nephew Naphtali, Naphtali's wife, and she's expecting. 14 people, all in 1 room. Rabbi Eliezer, we can't turn around in our house. Is there anyone worse off than me?
Oh, I see your problem. Bible, do you own a cow?
Naturally, Rabbi Eliezer. What Jew doesn't own a cow?
Listen to me. Take the cow into your house.
But, Rabbi Eliezer...
Do as I say. Take the cow into your house.
You're going crazy. Whoever heard of bringing a cow into a house, and such a house?
Be still. The rabbi told me to do it.
Oh. Well, you go back to your fine rabbi and ask him what you're going to do now that the cow is in the house. Go ahead. Go, ask him. Take that goat out. Take him right out of this house.
Now, be reasonable. I told the rabbi about the cow, so he said take the goat into the house also.
Well, you go right back to him, Bible. Look what he's done to us. First the cow, now a goat, on top of all the people we had here in the first place. No chickens. The children, yes. Your relatives, yes. A cow, all right, even a goat. But Bible, no chickens. You hear me? No chickens. 6 sons, 4 daughters, my uncle, your nephew Naphtali, Naphtali's wife who is expecting, God bless her. 1 cow, 1 goat, but no chickens. I positively draw the line at chickens.
But it's what Rabbi Eliezer said. He said take the chickens into the house.
I don't know what Rabbi Eliezer said. No chickens, I said.
I think I'll have to speak to Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer, they're in the pots, they're under the beds, the goat is eating my phylacteries, my wife's relatives are sitting on the rafters. Rabbi Eliezer, what have you done to me?
So it's bad, Bible, is it?
Bad? Did you say bad? It's Gehenna, that's what it is.
Calm yourself.
How can I be calm? It's the end of the world.
Be calm. Listen.
No, I won't bring the pigeons in.
No more, I promise. Go home, Bible. Go home and turn the cow out of the house.
What? Turn out?
Yes. Then turn out the goat.
Oh, bless you, Rabbi Eliezer.
Turn out all the chickens.
How can I thank you?
Come back tomorrow. Turn out all the animals and come back tomorrow.
Rabbi Eliezer, behold me, Fievel. Look, I want to dance. I'm a radiant man.
You turned the animals out, did you?
Out, every last one.
And is your house too small now?
Oh, no. Oh, no. Too small? Oh, what a question. A fine house like that too small for 14 people? Oh, 1,000 blessings, Rabbi Eliezer. My house is a palace now. 10,000 blessings, Rabbi Eliezer.
Tricks. Magician's tricks. Laugh, he said. Rejoice in your God, he said. Be merry. Not me. Not Avram Isaacson. I may be only a wagon driver, but I can recognize an imposter when I see one. Do you hear? He won over the cantor, too. Even our own cantor. I ask you, will you ever trust a tenor? The whole town was mad. Songs on the Sabbath, songs after the Sabbath, songs before the Sabbath, songs in the middle of the week.
Never stop singing. Sing, all ye children of men. Approach your God with a song on your lips. Let him see the grace of your countenance. Affirm in your melody the joy of life. Affirm the compassion and the charity and the love between men. Let your gloom be dissipated. Put away the dryness of your book lore and the stiffness of your piety. Make it warm. Make it rich. Make it fervent. Listen, all of you. Listen as you sing. In the lowliest of man there dwells a soul, a sacred mystery, the garment of the living God. Keep this garment spotless with your joy. And when you are bidden, return this garment without blemish, with your song.
Listen, do you think this Eliezer was all piety and good works? Don't believe it. I myself saw him insult a fine young man. Perhaps he wasn't so fine. Perhaps he was even a fool. For he came to Rabbi Eliezer and he said, I actually overheard it because I was exercising my horse in the snow and I overheard him say,
Rabbi Eliezer, I wish to be ordained as a rabbi.
Do you now?
Yes, with all my heart, Rabbi Eliezer.
Why do you want to become a rabbi?
Oh, I don't know exactly, but it's what I want to do more than anything else.
Tell me something of yourself. Tell me something of your daily conduct.
Well, every morning I always dress in white.
Do you now?
Yes, and I drink water.
Only water?
And every day I place tacks, sharp tacks in my shoes.
In heaven's name, why do you do that?
Oh, for self-mortification. I also roll naked in the snow. Yes, and when I'm finished, I order the synagogue caretaker to give me 40 stripes with a lash on my bare back each day, Rabbi.
And you think all this entitles you to become a rabbi?
Yes, Rabbi Eliezer.
Young man, that is Avram Isaacson's horse. What color is he?
White?
Yes. The creature is white. It drinks only water. It has nails in its shoes. It rolls in the snow. And I suppose that our friend Avram gives him even more than 40 stripes a day with his whip. Still, as you doubtless see, it is only a horse.
Yes, after Rabbi Eliezer came, nothing was the same. He had respect for no one at all. After all, a man should know the difference between a beggar and, let us say, Asher Horowitz, who was the wealthiest man in the town. But Rabbi Eliezer, did he know the difference? Not at all. He pretended that there was no difference between Asher Horowitz and his hundreds of rubles and a beggar like Nachum Fishman who didn't have a broken slutty to his name. Good Shabbos, he would say to Asher Horowitz. Good Shabbos, he would say to Nachum Fishman. Just like that, as though they were the same. It happened once that Asher Horowitz lost a wallet and Nachum Fishman found it. Immediately, Rabbi Eliezer had to meddle.
I'm very glad for you, Nachum. Asher Horowitz has promised a reward of 10 rubles to the one who finds the wallet.
10 rubles? It's a fortune. Rabbi Eliezer, 2 loaves of bread for Sabbath and wine for the Kiddush. My wife is going to be happy.
Come in.
Asher Horowitz, your wallet has been found.
Wonderful. Quick, let me have it.
Hold on, Nachum. Asher, haven't you forgotten something?
Yes, the reward.
Of course, of course. Hold the wallet over. I've got to make sure the money is all there, don't I?
It must be there. I didn't even open it because it wasn't mine. Just as I found it, that's the way I'm returning.
I'll see in a moment. 100, 200, 250, 75, 300, 25, 50, 70, 80, 90, 400. Only 400 rubles.
I don't give any reward. I lost 500 rubles.
Rabbi Eliezer, he can't be telling the truth. I swear I haven't even looked inside the wallet.
No reward? Good day, Rabbi. Good day now.
Asher Horowitz, you will please give the wallet to Nachum.
What's that?
Give it to him, I say. Take it, Nachum.
But what are you doing? Here, give me back my wallet.
Oh, no, Asher. This is not your wallet. You are an honest man. You lost the wallet containing 500 rubles. But Nachum is also an honest man. He found the wallet containing only 400 rubles. Clearly, the wallet is not yours. Nachum will keep it until its rightful owner claims it.
Oh. It's a joke, eh? Sure, a joke. Nachum, you're a good fellow. Of course, everyone says so. Here's your reward of 10 rubles. Now give me my wallet.
Oh, no, Asher. That would be a crime. As you say, the wallet you lost contained 500 rubles. Come, Nachum. The Almighty has blessed you today. Good day, Asher.
This meddling was bad enough, but it was more painful to have to listen to Rabbi Eliezer preach. Why did I listen, you might ask? Did anybody make me? I'll tell you. First, it's none of your business. And second, I, Avram Isaacson, listen to anyone I want to listen to. So I developed the very bad habit of listening to Rabbi Eliezer. Now, make no mistake, he was a meddler, all right. Yet I must confess, some of the things he had to say were good enough. After a fashion, that is.
One who thinks that anything can be accomplished by money is likely to do anything for money. One who thinks he can live without others is mistaken. One who thinks that others cannot live without him is even more mistaken. I have greater love for the wicked man who knows he is wicked than for the righteous man who knows he is righteous. The first one is truthful, and the Lord loves truth. The second one falsifies, since no human being is exempt from sin, and the Lord hates untruth. To sin against a fellow man is worse than to sin against God. The man you have harmed may have gone to an unknown place, and you may lose the opportunity to beg his forgiveness. God, however, is everywhere, and you can always find him when you seek him.
Myself, I'm not a fool, you understand. I know a good thing when I see it, and I know a bad thing when I see it. But Rabbi Eliezer, well, for 135 years I've been thinking of him. Mind you, I haven't changed my opinion. Only, as Rabbi Eliezer says, to sin against your fellow man is worse than to sin against God. So, Rabbi Eliezer, can you hear me? It's me, Avram Isaacson. If I have done... Well, mind you, Rabbi Eliezer, I haven't changed my mind. But, well, you know how it is. Besides, I like the singing.
Copies of the script you've just heard may be obtained free of cost by writing to the Eternal Light, 3080 Broadway, New York, 27 New York. And now we present Rabbi Solomon H. Metz of Congregation Ades, Israel, Washington, D.C. Speaking from Washington, Rabbi Metz.
Hasidism is a uniquely significant manifestation of the ever-recurring miracle of self-renewal. The unspeakable massacres in the Ukraine in 1648 and 1649 left Israel dangerously depleted and weakened to the point of death. Even as in Nazi-devastated Europe today, it looked as though the diabolic forces of paganism had accomplished the extermination of the people of the book. But when Israel found himself on the rim of extinction, there burst forth from the depths of his soul the burning bush of Hasidism. By its mystic light, the very wilderness was transmuted into a holy pilgrimage to messianic fulfillment and the ineffable joy of the nearness of God. Under its spell, hidden wells of astounding vitality sprang into being. In its wake there came song and rhythm, rejoicing and dancing, and those extraordinary legends which, for beauty, humanity, and depth, rank among the greatest religious creations of all time. To an unparalleled degree, the Hasidic movement has achieved the synthesis of the priestly and the prophetic in religion, the organic unity of the ritualistic form and the living content of the mystic experience. The prophet and the priest are not antagonists. They represent the polarity of the continuing life of the Spirit. Religion is indeed like unto a beautiful river, its sweet, quickening waters endlessly flowing between its banks. We never swim in the same water twice, for the river is a living unity. Were the banks leveled down, the river would turn into a destructive flood. Were the flow of its waters paralyzed, it would turn into a serpentine swamp of death. For the river to live and to quicken, its banks must endure, and its waters must be in perpetual flux. The formal rituals and laws symbolized in the priesthood are the banks, and the prophetic and mystic inspiration is the water that everlastingly flows on. In Hasidism, its melancholy background, its unheralded emergence and momentous power, we perceive the divine in history, the poetry, the redemptive awareness of God's presence, the all-embracing compassion, the spiritual range and sweep that Hasidism brought into Jewish life in one of Israel's darkest hours are for us today a rainbow and a reassurance of the revival of the remnants of our people. As we study our past, there comes to us the certainty that out of the welter and agony of life, out of the valley and confusion of life, stumbling, bleeding, and falling, stumbling, groping, and rising, Israel will again emerge to greet the dawn, his vitality unimpaired, his faith undiminished, his vision undimmed, and on his lips the song of life, eternally self-renewing. Lo amus ki echyeh, I shall not die but live and declare the works of the Lord.
Thank you, Rabbi Metz. The Eternal Light is written by Morton Wishengrad. The music was composed by Morris Namorsky and conducted by Milton Katams. Cantor David Putman was the soloist. The narrator was Richard Keith, and the part of Rabbi Eliezer was played by Will Geer. The entire production was under the direction of Frank Pack. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generation.
The eternal light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light. This program comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Today's drama by Morton Wishengrad is entitled A Sound of Music and is the true story of Adolf Bahler. Featured as Mr. Bahler is Alexander Scurby. Mitzi Gould is the narrator.
He has good hands, hasn't he? Good hands to make a sound of music. And yet they are not extraordinary hands. Rather small, in fact. Delicate. With fingers slender. I think that whatever is unique in Adolf Bahler comes from his spirit through those fingers. It's strange that I should say that. For a man's fingers are only flesh and bone. And bone is fragile and flesh bruises. But the human spirit is something more. It is like gold tried in the fire. It remains pure. Even in the furnace of adversity, it remains pure. Once, Adolf Bahler was only a concert pianist with gifted hands. But today, I think that Adolf Bahler is something more. And I think I know. 8 years ago, I was his fiancée. He was born in Poland. I lived in Austria. He was a pianist. I was a violinist. Our music brought us together. In March 1938, Adolf Bahler left my house in Vienna to rehearse the Emperor Concerto with the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra. There was nothing strange in this. There was to be a concert at the Vienna Concert Hall, and Adolf Bahler was a celebrated pianist. Nothing strange. Only the day was strange. It was March 11th, 1938.
Johann, where's the orchestra? Am I too early?
The orchestra went home, Herr Bahler.
But we're supposed to rehearse.
The orchestra went home, Herr Bahler.
But we have to prepare our concert.
No concert, Herr Bahler. We're closing the concert hall. Take my advice and go home.
Go home?
And see to the shutters. And make sure the lights are put out. Go home, Herr Bahler.
Why? I don't understand.
Von Schuschnigg has resigned. Arthur Seyss-Infort has succeeded him. And hurry with those shutters. Get a move on.
Johann, what does it mean?
It means that the Nazis are here. Herr Bahler, go home. Go home as fast as you can. Is that him?
Where?
Turning the corner.
That's the one. Signal the other car. All right, let's go.
All right, you.
We want to see you, Herr Bahler.
I don't know you.
Get into the car.
What for?
Get into the car.
I'm a Polish citizen. You can't do this.
I advise you, Herr Bahler, to get into the car.
You can't do this. I'll show you my passport. You've made a mistake.
Have we made a mistake, Heinrich?
Not at all.
What authority do you have?
Heinrich, kindly show Herr Bahler our authorization. Good enough, Heinrich.
Now give me a hand with the Jew.
Who is this one?
Another Jew.
All right.
This one is a pianist.
Oh, he is.
I thought you'd like to know.
Naturally, I like to know these things. So he's a pianist. Interesting.
I'm a Polish citizen. I demand to see the Polish consul.
Do you?
I demand that you notify my fiancée, Fräulein Edith Strauss.
So you are a pianist, eh? I should like to see your fingers, if you please. I said I should like to see your fingers.
Do as he says. What are you going to do?
Oh, come. Let's not be boorish. I'm a man of aesthetic taste. I should like to see your fingers.
Why? Do as he says. Put your fingers on the table. You don't talk like a hoodlum.
Thank you. You can do as I say, please. Your fingers, if you please. That's better. So these are the fingers of the pianist. Interesting. And I leave them on the table. I said leave them on the table. All right.
Shall I hold his wrist?
Yes, if you will be so kind. By all means, hold,
Herr Baller.
By all means, hold Herr Baller's wrist. I wish to study his fingers.
I waited for him. Tell me, have you ever waited? Have you ever sat in a darkened house in the middle of a darkened city, waiting for a familiar step, waiting for a familiar knock on the door, for the clasp of a familiar hand? Not a large hand. A hand with slender fingers, fragile fingers that make a sound of music. I waited. I waited through the night, and I knew the meaning of the verse from the psalm. O Lord, out of the depths I cry to thee. My foster father went to the Polish consul. Near Turkenschanstrasse in the 18th district, they found Adolf Baller. 3 days later, the Nazis released him.
Fräulein Strauss?
Yes, I'm Edith Strauss. Have you...
In the car.
He's in there?
All yours, Fräulein. Well, what's the matter?
There's been some mistake.
No mistake.
I tell you, there's been a mistake. I don't know this man.
No? Here. His passport, Fräulein Strauss. No mistake.
That can't be Adolf Baller. I tell you, that can't be Adolf Baller.
Do you want him, Fräulein, or don't you?
It can't be Adolf Baller.
Fräulein, I haven't got all day. If you want your fiancé, well, you'll have to take him the way he is.
Is that you, Edith? I can't see.
Yes, it's Edith.
Edith, tell me about my fingers. Edith, find my hands.
They're not hands anymore.
They walked across my hands. They beat me with clubs. They put their cigarettes out against me. They kicked me. But they walked across my hands. Back and forth. Back and forth. Edith, please speak to me. Edith, I can't see you. I can't open my eyes. I can't feel with my fingers. Edith, speak to me. All right, I know. My hands are broken. I'm never going to play again.
Yes, Doctor.
Sit down, Fräulein.
Yes, Doctor.
Fräulein, there appears to be a rupture of the kidney. His eyes are, well, I think you will see. Use this for the burns. That's all, Fräulein.
Doctor, his hands.
I can't tell. His hands, they're not human hands now. I can't tell, Fräulein.
You must tell me, Doctor. Don't try to make it easy.
Very well. The holes burnt in his hands. They'll heal, I think. I don't know how many fingers are broken. I don't know whether the bone is merely broken or entirely crushed. We'll have to wait till the swelling goes down. That's all, Fräulein.
Doctor, will he...
Fräulein, Adolf Bahler will never be able to play the piano again.
Do you ever stand before the great Sabbath candle? Do you ever say a Sabbath blessing? Do you open a holy book and pray to God? Do you find consolation in words, or in silence, or in speech? Do you? But then your light has not gone out. What is yours is still yours. What is you is still you. But 10 fingers, 2 hands of fragile bone and fragile flesh. That was Adolf Bahler. Do you understand that? Those fingers were the altar of his synagogue. Those fingers were the expression of his spirit. And what was acceptable to God and good to men was the sound of music from Adolf Bahler's fingers. Do you understand that? Could no longer stay in Vienna. Even had they allowed it, the air of Vienna was acid on the tongue and dry in the throat. So we went to Budapest as soon as he was able to be moved. And in Budapest, there were bone specialists.
So? Herr Bahler, you're also something of a composer, I understand. Try bending your fingers, Herr Bahler. No pressure. Don't strain. So, you do not bend.
I can try again.
For today, it is enough.
I'll try again.
No, let us talk, Herr Bahler. You are a composer also, yes?
He's written a fine sonata for piano and violin.
It is good. Musical composition is fine.
Doctor, I'm a pianist.
Still, to compose, that is even better. Is it not so, Fräulein?
Why don't you say it, Doctor?
Herr Bahler, I shall say it. No use.
I'm going to play again.
You must face it, Herr Bahler. It's no use. Be thankful that you have regained vision in one eye. Your hands? I do not think so.
Doctor, they didn't beat only me. They beat other people. When they brought me to the house near Turkenschanzstrasse, the chairs and the furniture were floating. They were floating on human blood.
Why do you tell me this, Herr Bahler?
They didn't do it with passion, Doctor. Don't you understand? They weren't angry. They were methodical. I don't know how to say it, Doctor. I've got to play again. If I don't play, they've killed me. We mustn't allow that, Doctor.
Can you bend your fingers, Herr Bahler?
Not today, but there's tomorrow.
Not tomorrow, Herr Bahler.
Doctor, we have to fight back. Music is the only thing I have.
Doctor, will massage help?
Perhaps. In any case, it will do no harm.
I can do that then. I'll massage his hands. Every day, all the time. I'll massage until...
What is the good, Fräulein? You waste your time and deceive each other with false hopes. Some things are broken and are mended. Some things are broken and are not to be mended. I'm sorry. You will excuse me. I must go now.
I'll get you a cup of tea.
No, Edith.
It will be good for you.
I don't want tea.
I'll get a book then. I'll read to you.
I don't want to be read to.
You mustn't make it more difficult than it is. I'll be back in a moment.
Don't go, Edith. Edith, come here. I want you to massage my hand. I want you to start now.
How is it written? Gold is tried in fire, and acceptable men are tested in the furnace of adversity. I massaged his hands. Fingers stiff. Fingers no longer slender and delicate. The broken bones had come closer together, but the flesh was numb and dull. Flesh no longer sensitive. Flesh no longer willing to make a sound of music. I massaged the flesh, and Adolf Bala smiled. Can a man smile when his teeth are clenched? He smiled. Every day of every week of every month, the same smile. In Budapest, 7 years ago, I married a man with broken hands.
Amo Yisroel.
One day, soon after we were married, I came home. I put my key in the lock. I turned the key, but I did not open the door because there was a sound. It was a sound I heard. Oh, Lord, it was not a sound of music. It was Adolf Bala's heart. His fingers were like clumsy, childish hammers, but he was at the keyboard, and there was a look in his eyes.
Edith.
Yes,
You heard?
I heard.
I'm doing it.
There's sweat on your face.
Did you hear what I said? I can do it.
Here's my handkerchief. Wipe your face.
You'll see.
On your forehead, it's all wet. Here.
I said you're going to see. You're going to hear.
Yes.
Say you're glad. Edith, say you're glad.
I'm glad, darling. Know what this is? An electric vibrator. Hold out your hands, darling. This is going to help. They look better. Even I can see that they look better. Hold out your hands, darling.
Clench. Unclench. Clench. Unclench. Good Lord, but I'm tired.
You can't stop now. You must go on. I know it's only a wooden board, but that's the treatment. Now, come on, press. That's right. Press. Stretch. Press.
Here are the new X-ray plates. Mrs. Barrow, I'd like to shake hands with you.
some things are broken and cannot be mended, and some things are broken, and while bone is fragile and flesh bruises, the spirit is strong. The human spirit stretching the bruised hands and fingers pressing a wooden board, gaining strength, clenching, unclenching, stretching, days and weeks and months, and sweat on a man's face, and a look in his eye, and the sound of music again. Sonata in B minor for violin and piano. Sonata of Adolf Balla, and my violin no longer shut away in its case. Each man must affirm the human spirit for himself. Each man must render his testimony in his own time, in his own fashion. And this was Adolf Balla's testimony and his affirmation. We left Budapest for France. From France, 7 years ago, we sailed as immigrants to America. Only the clothes we wore, only the music we brought, was all we could bring. A memory of pain and the sound of music.
Balla, I can assure you that you'll like this concert tour.
I hope so.
Take my word for it. I've been managing these things for a long time. I know a natural when I see one. People are going to come to hear you. Take my word for that.
How do you mean?
Natural publicity, that's what. Your story isn't going to hurt at the box office, if you know what I mean.
I'm very grateful, but please, what has happened to me has happened. I want to forget it.
But people will come to hear you because of it.
I'm only one of thousands who came through it. I suffered much less than they. Besides,
yes?
I'm a musician. If people will come to hear the music, I shall be very glad, but I want them to listen to me only for the sake of the music.
Well,
my wife and I have thought this through. It's how we want it.
All right, if you say so. Now, here's your itinerary. Complete list of train reservations, hotel reservations, the whole business. And, now, by the way, Polly.
Yes?
Have you ever heard of Los Gatos?
Is it something to eat?
No, it's a little town in California, about 50 miles from San Francisco. How would you like to take a trip there?
I don't know.
A man out there who'd like to see you.
Is there?
A man called Menuhin. Yehudi Menuhin.
He wants to see me.
That's right. Mr. Menuhin happens to need an accompanist.
Me?
Here are your train reservations. I think you and Mrs. Baller are going to be happy in California.
Perhaps you received a letter this year from your husband or your son or your brother. Perhaps they wrote to you that standing before the barracks or in the crowded hospital wards, Yehudi Menuhin gave a concert. And perhaps they noticed the hands of his accompanist. There was nothing extraordinary about those hands. Merely the 10 fingers of an American citizen called Adolf Balla. He made a sound of music, and that was all. This was his affirmation, in his own time and his own fashion, that gold is tried in fire, and acceptable men are tested in the furnace of adversity. I would say more if I could, but when you stand on American ground, somewhere under the American sun, the words fill your heart, and they choke your throat, and you are glad, and you do not speak.
If you would like a free copy of today's story, the story of an American citizen named Adolf Bahler, write to the Eternal Light, 3080 Broadway, New York 27, New York. And now we take pleasure in introducing Rabbi J.X. Cohen of the Free Synagogue in New York City. Rabbi Cohen.
Bahler the musician consciously willed to live again to the sound of music that would revivify in multitudes the will to carry on to victory, despite bitter handicap and seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Bahler unconsciously reflected in his will to live the unquenchable spirit of the Jewish people. The psalmist has said it, "I shall not die but live and declare the works of the Lord." Bahler was indeed chastened sore, almost beyond comprehension, to make music sound again. But his spirit had not been given over unto death. And so has it been with the people Israel. Though torn and tormented, ravaged by crimes unspeakable, tortured by cruelties incredible, it still declares, "On Yisroel Chai, the people Israel shall live." One man's uncrushable hope carried him on to victory over hideously vicious underlings. Even so, a whole people, though tragically bereft, will carry on to full victory of the Spirit, victory over those beasts garbed as men, who in their lust for world dominion vainly sought to snuff out the flame of civilization. The enemy of civilization has lost the battle. His evil disciples today stand before the bar of justice, a tribunal more potent than the bar of history, to be forever condemned for their multitudinous crimes. They reduced to nameless, furnace dust 6 million European Jews, together with hundreds of thousands of Christian men and women. But they could not entomb the spirit of these unnumbered dead, whose luminescence comes from the unquenchable flame of the eternal light, and the blessings of that light, reflected by the multiple faiths of man in the eternal God, will yet bring salvation, goodwill, and peace to all mankind.
Thank you, Rabbi Cohen. The Eternal Light is written by Morton Wishengrad. The music was composed by Morris Momorsky and conducted by Milton Catums. Today's story was based on Music Hitler Couldn't Silence, an article by Dean Jennings which appeared in a recent issue of Coronet. Adolf Bahler was played by Alexander Scurby. Mitzi Gould was the narrator. Cantor David Putterman sang the liturgical introduction. The entire production was under the direction of Frank Patt. This program was presented by the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations and comes to you each week at this time under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. For a free copy of today's script, write to the Eternal Light, 3080 Broadway, New York 27, New York. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
Israel,
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generations.
The Eternal Light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light. This program is brought to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our drama today is Morton Wishenbrad's The Voice of Rochelle, and features Ann Sterrett as Miss Miller, and Ronnie Liss is the boy.
This is a story for a day when Earth sucks the rains of winter like a little child. The days run in circles, and every ancient thing is refound in the circuit. And every new thing has already been many times. Men are united but to be parted again, and men are parted and are then reunited. These are the words of the poet Yehuda Halevi. I awake, and I am yet with thee, O Lord, and I give thanks, and it is sweet to thank thee. My name is Hannah Miller, but this is not my story. Essentially, it is the story of one small boy and an effort to find for him a single minute point upon the circumference of the ancient circuit. For him, the story began nearly 4 years ago in France. For me, it began 2 years ago at Pier 45 in New York Harbor. He was only one child among 7 small children, residue of war. 7 orphans come to America from lands of destruction and famine. I had gone to the pier to collect this consignment from overseas, and when children have been starved and carry only the inconsequential baggage of empty hands, it is quite possible to crowd 7 little children into a New York taxicab. Driver, is it...
Keep your shirt on, lady.
But the siren...
Yeah, it's the little flower lady. Things must be slow at City Hall.
Hush, boy. It's not a real air raid, it's just practice.
That's right, kid. Sit tight. It's only the warning siren anyhow. We got time.
Children, you mustn't cry. Kinder, ihr müsst nicht weinen. Nie boites, dieti. Nie bies pacoites. Rehitono nichivo.
Tell him, lady.
Bernard. Explique à la petite fille qu'il n'y a pas de danger. C'est seulement l'exercice. Pas de boche en Amérique.
That's telling him.
Come, gib mir die Hand. Sage dem anderen Jungen, soll keine Angst haben. Everything is all right. You're in America. It's only a practice raid.
Hey, lady.
Yes.
What you got back there, the Boiler School of Languages?
Driver, can we get to 4th Avenue before the second siren? It's important. These children are frightened.
Lady, I already went through 1 red light. I gotta stop for this one.
But, driver, please hurry.
Keep your shirt on, lady. It'll turn green in a second. Hey, it ain't my business, but where you taking these kids?
The Hebrew orphan shelter. These children
I
are...
got you. I shouldn't have cracked wise.
Driver, the lights change.
Madam, who is driving this here taxi cab? How do y'all like that? Hey, you! Hey, you monkey, what are you waiting for? Better turn it green.
There were 7
7 children, and Bernard was only one of them. He wore a dirty woolen sweater which fell below his knees. He was smaller than a short Friday, but his eyes were large, and in them there was a look that could hold sunlight. We had 132 children at the shelter. He was like all the others, and yet Bernard was also apart.
What is your second name?
Je ne sais pas.
What was your mother's second name?
Je ne sais pas.
Miller, you try him.
Where did you live? Je ne sais pas. Don't you even remember the town or the province? Je ne sais pas.
Miller, how are we going to help the boy? We've got nothing to go on.
Just 3 things. His mother's name was Rochelle. His name is Bernard. And somewhere in America he has an uncle. His mother's brother.
That isn't enough. We're licked. Miller, see if you can make him talk.
Bernard, listen. We want to help you find your uncle, but you must help us. You understand me, don't you? I know you do. Please, try to remember. Bernard, donne-toi la peine. Tu m'aideras de trouver ton oncle en Amérique. N'importe quel renseignement est d'importance.
Je ne peux pas me rappeler. Je me rappelle mes traits pour presque rien. Mon père était soldat. Il a été tué à la guerre. Je restais avec ma mère. Ensuite, ils sont arrivés, les Boches. Ma mère était bonne, si bonne.
A little boy speaking. And it was as though the sun came down the steps and it was night. He remembered so little. Only that his father had been a soldier.
Il est mort.
And that his mother had been very lovely.
Elle est morte.
And that he could not remember his second name.
Je ne sais pas.
And that somewhere in America he had an uncle.
Mon oncle américain. Le frère de ma mère.
The other children left the shelter. New children came, they left. Bernard remained. And then, slowly, he began to remember.
Mon père a été tué. Les Allemands sont arrivés. Ils nous ont mis dans les trains. Ils ont dit qu'ils nous envoyaient en Pologne. Je me souviens.
A little boy speaking.
I remember. It was after my father had died in the war. The Germans came to where we lived. They put me and my mother and the others into wagons. They said they were sending us to Poland. I did not want to go to Poland. We rode for a long time, many days. And there was nothing to eat. At night we stopped in the forest. And from the wagon I could hear the grown-up people talk.
Warm enough, Rochelle?
Yes,
How is the boy?
he's warm enough.
Has he spoken yet?
No, he hasn't spoken.
It's going to drive me crazy. Why don't the children speak? It's unnatural. Why don't they?
Take it easy, Maurice. How much food do we have?
Nothing.
Have you anything, Rochelle?
Yes,
How much?
not much. A little more than half a loaf.
All right, we divide it.
I'm hungry.
We divide it, Maurice. For the children.
I'm hungry. I haven't eaten since...
You'll wait. None of the grown-ups eat. We save it for the children.
The bread is moldy.
They'll eat it. I've got a bottle of wine. Dip the bread in wine. They won't notice the mold.
I'll do it right away.
No, not tonight, Rochelle. Tomorrow morning.
The children are hungry now.
Tomorrow they'll be hungrier. Wait till tomorrow.
Bernard, are you awake? You don't have to speak if you don't want to. Eat this. It's your breakfast. Go ahead. Say the blessing for the bread. All right, I'll say it for you. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, chomotzelecha min ha'orez. Eat your bread, Bernard.
This wagon. Everyone all right?
All right.
This wagon. The children get their bread?
Yes, it's been taken care of.
Warm enough, Rochelle? I can give you my scarf.
Thank you. I'll manage.
How's Werner?
He doesn't speak very much.
Yeah, sure. Well?
I don't know. I hope you will live, that's all.
Why? What's the good?
I don't know. My husband, he used to say immortality comes through children.
Sure.
Well, that's enough, isn't it? You die, your children die. Your children live, and your children die, their children live. Continuity. That counts, doesn't it?
Sure. We start in a minute.
May you see children's children unto thy children. The rabbi said that when I was married.
Sure, we start in a minute. Rochelle, get the boy to talk. He's going to be sick if he doesn't talk.
Try again, Bernard. Try to remember your mother's name.
Rachel.
No, her second name.
Je ne sais pas. Seulement Rachel.
Miller, how can we find his uncle if he can't remember his mother's name or his uncle's name? We just have to get more information from him. Miller, talk to the boy.
Bernard, you know we're trying to help you find your uncle.
Oui.
He told you had an uncle in America?
Oui.
But that isn't enough. America's a great big place. Where does your uncle live? Je t'en prie. Dans quelle ville ton oncle demeure-t-il?
Je ne sais pas.
Well, then try to remember his name.
Je ne peux pas.
Please, Bernard, please try. I know it's wrong to ask you to remember. I know it's better for you to forget. But we want to bring your uncle to you. Please, boy, try to remember.
Ma mère est morte.
Go on.
Pendant plusieurs jours, nous étions dans les trains vers la Pologne.
Yes. You rode toward Poland. Go on.
Les grandes personnes, ma mère aussi, elle avait faim. Elle est morte.
Your mother died of hunger?
Oui.
What else?
Rien.
He doesn't remember anything else. We just can't torture him anymore.
No, he's got to think about it. We need more facts.
Oui. Ma mère est morte. Tout le monde est mort. Moi, je ne suis pas mort. Ils m'ont permis de rester près du tombeau. Ils ne m'ont pas gêné. A little boy speaking. When my mother died, they buried her in the forest beside the road. The Germans let me stay. They did not care about me. The wagons went on toward Poland. I stayed. The second day, a gendarme found me.
Is that you, Albert? It's me. I've got a sick child here.
I don't talk to Laval's police. Go away.
Albert, I swear to you, I've got a sick child here. I swear on my mother's name.
I don't talk to the police. I want you to stop shouting and let me... Who is he?
I don't know. I found him off the road, and there was a fresh grave.
Why do you bring him to me?
Because I know about you.
Eh?
All right, Albert, so I'm a gendarme. So Pétain and Laval are my employers. But I know about you, and I haven't told anyone. You'll get him out, won't you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The same way you get the others out. Tuesday night, you meet a man at Voiron.
Shut up.
He drives a car to Grenoble.
Shut up.
From Grenoble, there's another wagon that goes to Saint-Marcelin, and after that...
I said shut up.
Yes, I shut up. Every gendarme in this district knows it. But we shut up, Albert. Well?
Close your fat mouth and come inside. Well, what are you waiting for? Bring the boy in.
Il était bon, lui et les autres. Ils m'ont donné à manger. Ensuite, j'ai quitté la France. Ils m'ont amené en Espagne. Ensuite, au Portugal.
A little boy speaking, trying to remember what is best forgotten. The days run in circles, and every old thing has already been many times. So we tried the old things, the old familiar things that have been tried before.
Hurry with that press release, Miss Abrams.
I'll help her get it out.
Oh, no, Miller. You get to the reporters. Buy them a martini. Buy them 2 martinis. We've got to get a good story.
Miller speaking. Yes, that's right. But it's all we know. His mother's name was Rochelle. His name is Bernard. He has an uncle in America. I know. I know it's very little to go on. Yes. Yes, certainly. That's right. Fine.
Miss Abrams, don't forget to include the boy's age. He's approximately 8 years old. That may be
The
important.
morning bulletin sending a photographer up.
Oh, that's good, Miller. You might tackle the wire services.
Oh, I should have thought of that myself.
It's a good story. They'll take it.
I hope so.
Miller, I'm praying. Somewhere in America, there's a man we want.
And we'll get to him. We have to get to him.
Please, no more interviews. We appreciate everything, but the boy is tired.
Where shall I put these cartons?
In the same place.
Miller, for heaven's sake, ask the public to stop sending toys and clothes. The boy doesn't want to open a department store. All he wants is his uncle.
Thank you very much. But Bernard isn't quite ready to appear on the radio. But thanks again.
Miller, how many does that make?
36.
Thank them all, will you? But tell them that Bernard does not want to be adopted. He just wants his uncle.
Listen, Bernard. There are some people waiting for you. Every one of them had a sister named Rochelle. Do you understand? Oui. You mustn't be nervous. One of them might be your uncle, but don't be disappointed. Mon oncle américain? Perhaps, but that's all. Peut-être. Perhaps. That's all. No. You be a good boy and try not to cry. Je ne pleure pas. I know. I know you don't cry. You're a good boy, Bernard. Je ne pleure pas. A little boy with large eyes who did not cry. From many cities they'd come to see him. Americans of French descent who once in better days had had a sister called Rochelle.
Our little boy was called Samuel. Is that your name? Samuel, not Bernard.
Je ne sais pas.
Her second name was Israel. Try to remember, Bernard. Is your second name Israel?
Je ne sais pas.
Can you think of your father's name? Was it...
Je ne peux pas.
Sonny, try to remember. The name of the city was...
Je ne peux pas.
Your father could have been...
Je ne sais pas.
Bernard, if you'll only remember the last time...
Je ne peux pas, je ne sais pas, je ne peux pas, je ne sais pas, je ne peux pas, It wasn't any use. We were fools, such clumsy fools. How does the Talmud say it? When the waves are running high, yield before the waves, and they will not overpower you. So we stopped questioning. We yielded before the waves. He was smaller than a short tidy, and his eyes were large. We stopped questioning him. He played with his toys, and then, one day, because he was content, he hummed a little song.
Bernard, I never heard that melody before.
Oh, that's a nice tune, Bernard. Is that something your mother taught you?
Come here, Bernard.
Okay.
That's a fine American vocabulary you're acquiring.
Okay.
Don't overdo it now. Does your song have words?
You know that tune?
Never heard the tune. The words are from Jeremiah. Thus saith the Lord, a voice is heard in Ramah, Rachel weeping for her children. She refuses to be comforted for her children because they are not.
Bernard, that was your mother's song, wasn't it?
Oui. Ma mère disait que c'était la chanson composée par ma grand-mère.
That was a very special tune, wasn't it?
Oui.
Just your grandmother's and your mother's?
Oui.
And maybe your uncle in America knew it?
Oui.
Miller, it's hardly enough to go on.
Well, it's more than we've had up to now.
All right. I'll get Miss Abrams to call up all those people again. Miller, keep praying.
Recognize it? No? Never heard that melody before? Too bad. I had a sister called Rachel. I know she had a little boy, but I never heard that melody in my life.
Miss Miller, there's someone outside who wants to talk.
Please, I left word we were not to be disturbed.
He's on furlough. He thinks he might be the boy's uncle. He seems excited.
The boy is tired.
Wait a minute. We've got to try every angle. Tell him to come in.
That's Bernard?
Yes, that's Bernard.
He's such a little kid.
Yes, he's little.
Sonny.
Oui.
I had a sister in Provence. When she was little, her eyes were...
Comme les miens?
Yeah, like yours. Her hair was black like yours.
Ma mère avait les cheveux blancs.
You turned white?
Oui.
Bernard.
Oui.
Listen. Écoute, Bernard. Écoute.
There is one American soldier today who has returned from the war. And in his house there is a boy smaller than a short toddy, with eyes very large and very bright. Yes, the days run in circles, and every ancient thing is refound in the circuit, and every new thing has already been many times. Men are united but to be parted again, and men are parted and then reunited. I awake, and I am with thee, O Lord, and I give thanks, and it is sweet to thank thee.
If you'd like a free copy of the script just heard, write to the Eternal Light, 3080 Broadway, New York, 27 New York. Now, we present a brief talk by Mr. Edward Silver of New York City, President of the National Council of Young Israel. Mr. Silver.
How true it is that today so many of us are saying, je ne sais pas, I do not know, when our hearts and minds seek some cure for the sickness that has taken hold of this troubled world. How futile, too, seems to be the medicines prescribed. I cannot help but feel that in the end,
like the little Bernard, our salvation will come from the word of the prophets. Whether atomic energy will prove a blessing or a curse, whether any scientific advance will prove a blessing or a curse, will, in the last analysis, depend upon the heart and conscience of man. A decade ago, we brought destruction to the world by a false evaluation of the word culture. We could not believe that a nation that had brought to the world great music, literature, art, and scientific discovery could commit the crimes it threatened. We failed to realize that a nation that felt that the words of the prophets were to be shunned and despised was a nation without heart or conscience, depraved and debased. This concept is shown in Exodus, which reading we began yesterday in our synagogues. Israel and Egypt represent two world conceptions, two ways of looking upon God and man. They're not merely in conflict, but mutually exclusive. As said Jeremiah at the door of a king of Judah, "Woe unto him that buildeth his house by unrighteousness, and his chambers by injustice." These words of Jeremiah are but a prophetic echo of the Israelites' cry for freedom that pierced the heavens in the days of Moses. They are but the translation of the trumpet sounds of the Exodus and the covenant of Sinai, with the divine and everlasting proclamation of the rights of man.
Thank you, Mr. Silver. The Eternal Light is written by Morton Wishengrad. The musical score was composed by Morris Momorsky and conducted by Milton Catons. Ann Sterrett was featured as Miss Miller, and Ronnie Liss was the boy. The soloist was cantor David Putterman, and he was assisted by Bobby Miller. The entire production was under the direction of Frank Papp. This program is presented by the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations, and comes to you each week at the same time under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. If you'd like to have a free copy of today's program, write to The Eternal Light, 3080 Broadway, New York, 27, New York. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually
in the tabernacle of the congregation, and it shall be a statute forever in your generations.
The Eternal Light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light. This program comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. We bring you today Robert Nathan's book, Jonah, adapted for radio by Harry Kleiner. Alexander Scobie is featured as the narrator, and Jack Lloyd as Jonah.
In those days, there were prophets in Israel. Often they would live in the desert beyond the Jordan, in caves and in rude huts of clay. Surrounded by rocks and sands and skittering lizards, they would see visions and listen for the Lord's voice. Through this life, they purified themselves to carry the word of the Lord back to their people. And among these prophets was young Jonah. Jonah shared his frugal meals with the lions of the desert and with the birds and foxes and ravens. One day a fox came out of his hole and, seeing Jonah, said,
Jonah?
What? Did you speak?
Of course. You heard me.
I
thought Jonah.
I thought I heard you.
I wanted to ask you something.
Oh? Yes?
When I go down in my hole, God goes down after me. Now, is God a fox or a Jew?
The Almighty made us in His own image. So He has the appearance of a man.
He created animals, too.
But He made them in the image of animals. Of course, it's true that some men worship bulls and doves and such idols. But our people may worship only the Lord.
Oh, very puzzling. I dreamed once of a God who was a raven and kept pecking at me with his beak. Oh, well.
The fox lay down and went to sleep, and Jonah thought deeply. The lizards scurried about the rocks. The wind whispered across the desert like the wings of God's messengers, and the prophets sang to the Lord their God.
Vayomer aleihem ivri yonoechi ve'esad Hashem Elohei hashomayim ani yorei asher oso es hayom ve'es hayabosho.
Now in time the Lord spoke to Jonah and sent him to speak to the people of Israel. And Jonah did so. And though people did not always do as he said, the fame of this new prophet spread throughout the land. And in time he came to his own village, the village where he had been born. And even there his fame had reached.
So, we actually have a prophet in the family.
Yes, Uncle.
Indeed we have, and why not? A great prophet.
Of course. Congratulations, boys.
Thank you, Uncle, but...
Only I wish you'd stay home now for a while, Jonah, and let me look after you instead of going off again to the desert.
What's this? Going away again?
I have to, Uncle.
Oh, no.
Alone, off to that desert.
I'm not alone in the desert, Mother. Besides...
But you can't go back yet. Why, the whole village is talking about you and about our family.
Yes.
Do you know what they're saying, Jonah? When will your mother make a feast and invite everybody?
Oh, no.
Oh, it would be so nice to have a feast, Jonah.
No, Mother, please, no feast.
How will it look, no feast? An honor comes to us, a prophet in the family, and we don't invite the neighbors over for anything.
My son, just a little party.
And why a little party? It should be a big party, as big as we can afford. Big enough to invite Prince Ahab and his niece Judith. I heard the prince goes around bragging that Jonah was born in his village.
No, there must be no feast in my honor. Can't you understand all I did had nothing to do with me? It would be wrong to honor me when it was all the Lord's doing. Besides, I have to get back. I'm getting confused. I must go back to the desert and learn what I must do next.
And Jonah took leave of his birthplace. But as he came to the edge of the village, he passed a giant sycamore tree near a palace of stone and fragrant cedar wood.
My love is a shepherd in Sharon. By rivers he waters his sheep. Blue are the waters of Sharon. Rivers of Sharon are deep. My love.
Who is he in Sharon?
Oh,
Why are you frightened?
I'm not.
Who is it you sing of in Sharon? I've been there. Perhaps I know him.
Oh, I don't know anyone in Sharon. It's just a song.
Why do you sing such a song? Why not a song in praise of God?
Who are you to come into my garden and tell me what to sing?
I am Jonah the prophet.
Jonah? You don't even have a beard.
I said I am Jonah.
Strange. When you spoke of God just now, I seem to feel something. Such a strange feeling. So peaceful. And yet it hurts a little.
That is how I always feel about him.
Then you are Jonah. Oh, don't go.
I only stopped because I heard you sing.
Oh, there are so many things I'd like to ask you. They say Jonah has been to many different places. Think of the people you must have seen.
I can't stay. I must be on my way.
Very well. Goodbye. I'm not as beautiful as some of the girls you've seen.
You are. I mean, in a different way.
In what way? Well, tell me.
Why do you speak as if you command?
I didn't mean to, Jonah.
Who are you?
My name is Judith. My uncle is Prince Ahab.
And Jonah stayed and spoke of his travels and did not return at once to the desert. Day after day, he and Judith met outside the palace. And when his mother spoke again of a feast in his honor, Jonah said nothing against it. And finally, the night of the feast came, and everyone in the village came to honor the prophet, even Prince Ahab and his niece, the Lady Judith.
Yahei Chasol Basol, Ahal Kanu Chashu Bashov, Ehen Kan Rosh Ehen Kan Sof, Yahad El Yahad Al Tahazol.
Jonah, let's sit here, away from everyone.
Yes, Judith.
Just think. They say you're the greatest man in Israel. How proud you must be.
All I did was speak as God told me to.
You're modest. And always a little sad.
And sometimes you're very sad.
I'm sad now. Why should I be sad, Jonah? Is it because everything's so beautiful? The moonlight and the smell of jasmine? Why should something so beautiful want to make me cry, Jonah?
All that's beautiful comes from the Lord. But you're not sure of him. That's what makes you want to cry. That's why all Israel is sad, too.
Oh, I'm not sad because of that. God has been good to me. And I prayed to my 2 little doves.
Judith.
Oh, don't be angry. They are little doves made of silver. They're sacred to Astarte. My uncle brought them to me from Tyre. I was unhappy, and I prayed to them. That day we met. So you see, I can't be sad. Because the doves answered me.
You must not pray to such idols. You must pray only to the Lord. He is mightiest of all.
Then why must you go to him in the desert after tonight? To help him?
I must go for my sake.
For your sake? And how about me? Don't you understand? I'm sad because you're leaving. I'm glad I told you. Oh, Jonah, take me with you.
To the desert?
Yes.
But there are no women in the desert.
I'll be the first.
You don't know what you're saying, Judith. The heat, the hours of meditation, the silence, the waiting for a voice.
I'd only want to hear your voice. Oh, Jonah.
I must go back without you.
Don't you think God would understand if you went back a little later? After we were married?
Yes. I think he would understand.
And so it was that Jonah's mother and his uncle went to Prince Ahab to discuss the matter.
What? What? Ridiculous.
Why is it ridiculous, Your Highness? My son is a great prophet.
And famous.
Yes, famous. Of course, he's poor. But what does wealth mean to you who have so much?
What impudence. Woman, let me tell you that my sister's daughter shall not marry a pauper, prophet or no prophet. Tell your son to go back to the desert where he belongs.
Jonah lingered on, waiting for word from Judith. When none came after 7 days, he climbed the hill to her garden, where he found not only Judith, but also...
That shawl is for me, Hiram. But I have so many.
None like this. It's dyed with Tyrian purple and has a fringe. And look, the little doves of Astarte are on it, woven in silver. I brought it just for you, Judith.
Oh, how I should like to go to Tyre and see everything.
You will. Who is that?
Jonah.
I have business with the Lady Judith. Please leave us. What does this mean, Judith? What does he want?
Please, Hiram. I'll talk to him.
Very well. If you need me, I'll be close by.
Well, Jonah, I suppose now you'll be going back to the desert soon.
That's all you have to say?
What else?
Is it so easily forgotten in 7 days?
7 days is a long time, especially when you have things to do and new people to meet. And you're getting ready for a trip.
You were once going to the desert.
Was I? Oh, Jonah, what must he think of me? I didn't know what I was doing then. But after I cried and my uncle the prince had done with ranting at me, I saw how foolish the whole thing was. You have your work.
But what of you, Judith? I must think of you.
I'm going to be married, Jonah.
Judith?
To the man you just saw. A great merchant of Tyre. But you, Jonah, you must go on. Be a great prophet for everybody's sake.
And Jonah turned away. All day he wandered without knowing where, until his feet led him at evening to the garden of his old teacher Naaman, whom he had not seen for many years.
Oh, my son, you have hurt yourself.
Naaman, how can one love and then not love? And where's the Lord all the time? I prayed for help. Why is he so silent?
You blame the Lord.
No, I just don't understand it. That's why I came to see you, as I used to do when something troubled me. Naaman, there were two of us in love with Judith. I prayed to the Lord. Hiram the Phoenician prayed to the doves of Astarte, and he won. Why?
My son, you've traveled and learned much. Have you not learned that there is only one God? Did you not find that in the desert, Jonah?
Yes, Naaman, that I know. But I have also been in Aram, where men worship snakes. And I heard of a land far to the south where pygmies live. They have idols which are only 2 feet high. You should travel and learn about such things.
I do not need to travel, Jonah. I am an old man, and no longer speak with the hope of changing anyone. But this I have learned with my heart. There is one God, and he is all things. He is in this peaceful garden. The sun that sets, the moon that rises, the breezes of evening whispering through the leaves of my acacia trees. He is everything that was and will be. He does not war with other gods of men's imagination. And when you doubt him, you doubt the very breath of your life. You do doubt him, don't you, Jonah? Go back to the desert and listen to him once more. In the stillness of your heart, somehow, he will show you.
And Jonah returned to the desert, to his hut among the gloomy rocks. The beasts of the field were his companions, and the wind whispered across the sands. And Jonah listened for a voice. But he heard many voices. They were the voices of demons, but also they were voices he knew.
Forget God.
Forget him.
He can't help you.
He can't help you.
Go away. Away.
Go away.
He can't help you now.
He can't help you now.
The demons of the desert laughed with wild peals of laughter, bitter and full of pain, cruel and without pity. But then at last, Jonah heard the voice he had been waiting for.
Jonah, your eyes shall be opened. Arise, go to Nineveh. Cry out against that great city for its sins.
Nineveh? What have I to do with Nineveh? Am I a prophet to the Assyrians? I am a Jew.
Go, do the Lord's bidding. Or do you still doubt the Lord?
Over what does he rule? Was he God of Israel when a Phoenician stole my love? Or has he power over Tyre, too, that he lets his servants suffer? Or is he God of the desert where the demons mock me and the very stones cry out against me? Nineveh, Nineveh. In whose name shall I cry out against Nineveh? Do the gods of the Assyrians visit their wrath upon Jerusalem? What power has the Lord in Nineveh? I stand here in the darkness and ask, what is he God of?
Jonah, go to Nineveh.
He is not God in Nineveh, and I will not go.
The wrath of the Lord, slow to start, flamed for a moment over the desert, and Jonah cowered to earth while the ground shook. But then it was gone, and Jonah sat in silence. The desert was quiet. And Jonah said in his heart,
I will leave God.
Jonah started out next day, not for Nineveh, but for the coast. He traveled swiftly, and on the night of the second day came to Joppa, where ships lay at anchor in the great fog. In the morning he found a ship bound west for Tarshish. He made his bargain and went on board. Soon the ship moved out of the harbor, and before long there was nothing but water around them, everywhere. And Jonah sat silent and peaceful as the sails sang in the wind.
God has lost me at last.
And Jonah slept. But then the wind died, and an ominous haze came over the sky.
Roar in hail! Roar in hail!
Then the sea began to roll, and suddenly it seemed as if the sky fell down upon the sea. The tiny ship dashed about in the water like a cork. The sailors fell upon their knees and prayed to their gods. And then Jonah spoke.
It is my fault. I alone am to blame. I brought this upon you. It is my life that is wanted. Throw me overboard. How, Dad? How do you mean? I am a Hebrew who denied the Lord. Throw me into the sea.
And the sailors seized Jonah and cast him overboard. Then the sea grew calm and the wind died away. Jonah struggled through the waters, but when all breath was about gone, the huge, dark form of Leviathan came out of the sea and swallowed Jonah the prophet.
I'm sorry, Jonah. Those were my orders. The Lord told me not to let you drown.
God spoke to you?
Why not? Why shouldn't he?
I don't know. It seems so...
So strange? Do you think he commands only men?
I see now that he does not. He commands the fish of the sea, the hosts of the air, and all creatures of the earth. There is one God only, and none else.
On the third day, Leviathan cast Jonah upon the sand as God had commanded him. And now at last, Jonah set his feet on the road to Nineveh. And as he went, he spoke to his God.
Lord, forgive me. I have heard you speak and did not know that your voice filled the earth. I did not know that you were in the thunder of the sea, the holy calm of evening in a village street, in loneliness itself. I thought to run away from you, and to help me find you, you cast me into the deep. The waves passed over my soul, Lord, but I did not perish. You heard me cry and remembered me. And in Nineveh, too, I will find you.
And now we present Dr. Herman Halperin, a rabbi of the Tree of Life congregation of Pittsburgh, Speaking from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Dr. Halperin.
We have been privileged this morning to listen to a modern midrash of the Jonah story. The story of the prophet Jonah is an old one. The theme has been the subject of many sermons and preachments. The vitality of this morning's presentation is due not merely to the modernity of Robert Nathan's midrash and to the vigor of its adaptation by the eternal light. The perennial novelty of the Jonah theme lies in the fact that deep down in our subconscious selves there is the feeling that we have not yet accepted Jonah's religious experience as valid for us. Jonah's discovery that there is one God who speaks to all humanity and to the whole of reality is not yet our very own real conviction. It is one thing to give lip service to the belief in one God. It is another to so live and act as if we believed it to be true. If we believe in one God, it follows logically that we should believe in one race of mankind. If we look further at that belief through the eyes of the historian, we are led to acknowledge that such a belief could have been enunciated to the world only because men of prophetic insight conceived intuitively of the unity of the human race. No prophet could have taught us to believe in one God unless he himself believed at the same time in one human race, in a common humanity. So Jonah became a great prophet for everybody's sake. He came to love the Assyrians of Nineveh as he loved his own people. He was a prophet to the Assyrians because he was a true prophet to Israel. The truth which the story of Jonah exemplifies was valid not only for all nations in his time, but also for all generations. Thousands of years after his death, our acceptance of his teaching remains the final test of whether we really believe in one God.
Thank you, Dr. Halperin.
And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation, and it shall be a statute forever in your generation.
The eternal light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light. This program comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our story today is a fantasy by Morton Wishengrad entitled The Parable of Reb Yisroel, and features Melchior Ferrer as the narrator and Juano Hernandez as Reb Yisroel.
That morning in question, I happened to be standing outside the heavenly gate. As usual, there was a great throng waiting to be tried by the heavenly tribunal. Some groaned and bit their fingernails. Others radiated an aura of confidence. Now, it has been my experience, founded on 462 years of personal observation, that sinners who await the heavenly trial are frequently expectant and self-assured, while righteous men and women invariably tremble at the imminent prospect of judgment. On this particular morning, 120 years ago, I observed two men who had died that very hour and who were now awaiting trial. One had been a wealthy man, the other had been a thief. And both had come for judgment directly from the city of Bialystok. The thief spoke first.
Menachem, before you go in there.
Yes?
I want you to know, well, it's hard to put into words.
It was nothing.
Oh, no, Menachem. It was a good deal. I was starving. Everyone said I was nothing but a thief, but you sent me food. You and Reb Yisroel. Do you call that nothing?
Well, thank Reb Yisroel. It was his example.
Next case, Menachem Aronson.
Wait, Menachem. I must tell you.
The angel is calling me.
All I want to say, I mean, that
Menachem Aronson of Bialystok.
Menachem, what I'm trying to say, well, good luck to you, Menachem Aronson. May you be admitted to paradise.
There's little chance, my friend. On earth, I was a rich man. Not a good man, only a rich man.
Well, good luck, Menachem.
Menachem Aronson, stand before the bar.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have anything further to say in your own behalf?
No, Your Honor. The record in your hands is correct.
Too bad.
You mean?
The list of your iniquities is very great. They outweigh your good deeds many times. Very many times.
I can't say that I wasn't warned. Back in Bialystok, Reb Yisroel used to speak to me all the time. He used to plead with me.
You will have to leave heaven and go.
I know. Yes, of course. All right, I know the way.
Sinners generally do.
I wonder if you could spare me pen and ink. I want to send a letter to Bialystok and tell Reb Yisroel...
Absolutely out of the question.
Oh. Well, all I wanted to tell Reb Yisroel was that I've had a fair trial. Well, thank you very much. That is, thank you.
Menachem Aronson of Bialystok, hold on.
Oh, I really know the way. You didn't have to follow.
Stop. Don't go any further.
But I was told to...
The order has been countermanded.
What? Oh, Reb Yisroel, thank you. Thank you for interceding for me.
Fiddlesticks. Reb Yisroel, whoever he is, had nothing to do with it. You've been ordered to reappear before the heavenly tribunal. It seems something unusual took place during the trial of your friend the thief.
I hope he hasn't taken sick.
Don't speak nonsense, Menachem. No one gets sick here. Come on. You're going back.
Menachem Aronson, Bialystok.
The same, Your Honor.
A man was starving. You fed him.
I did what Reb Yisroel told me to do. Reb Yisroel is a holy man, a real tzaddik. When after 120 years he comes to heaven, he will not be an ordinary angel. No. He will take his place among the seraphim.
Menachem Aronson, you are impertinent and presumptuous.
I beg your pardon, but Reb Yisroel said that a thief is also a human being, and that it was my duty to feed him.
The court will discuss Reb Yisroel on the proper occasion. The court now informs you, Menachem Aronson, that your sentence has been reversed.
Reversed?
Reversed.
But the list of my iniquities, you said...
I did.
You ordered me to leave heaven and go to...
I did.
But the list of my iniquities, you
There
said...
is no list.
No list?
It's gone.
Oh, thank you, Your Honor.
Don't thank me. Thank your friend, the thief.
Oh?
He stole the list.
Reb Yisroel. Oh, Reb Yisroel. You should know what has happened.
Menachem Aronson of Bialystok, not another word about Reb Yisroel. Not a single word. And be good enough to close the door as you leave. There's a terrible draft. Next case.
A very unusual incident even for heaven. The judge ordered a thorough investigation, you can be sure, but Menachem Aronson remained in paradise, blessing the name of Reb Yisroel, who had taught many men to love each other. Now, I must tell you that Reb Yisroel became something of a problem, because due to his earthly influence, many irregular things began to take place with alarming frequency within the precincts of the heavenly tribunal. Immediately, there was politics. One party of angels declared that Reb Yisroel was a saint who was surely destined to sit among the seraphim. A second party insisted that he could only take his place in the lesser rank among the ordinary angels. And a third party declared that Reb Yisroel wasn't a saint at all, that he was not even sure of admission to paradise. It became very disturbing. The angels commenced to quarrel, so measures had to be taken.
You're not listening to me. Please let me make my point.
I ask the angels to behave as gentlemen. Phineas.
I didn't say a word.
I didn't ask you. Now listen, all of you. There will be no peace until we send messengers down to earth and investigate this Reb Yisroel of Minsk.
Bialystok.
Bialystok. Thank you, Abner. We must put him to the test. Determine whether he is qualified to sit among the angels. To say nothing of our superiors, the seraphim. I need 2 angels for the mission.
I'm willing. So am I.
Good. Now step closely and listen. We've got to put Reb Yisroel to the test. Now, the plan is... No. That's test 1. Is that clear?
Absolutely.
Very good. The second test is... You understand?
Perfectly.
Very good. May you both have a quick passage to Bialystok. I will expect you to report back every fortnight. Good luck.
The heavenly chorus faded into the distance. Phineas and Abner descended through the atmosphere toward the place where the 53rd meridian intersects the 23rd parallel, or to be more specific, exactly where the synagogue stands in the city of Bialystok. For an angel, I must say that Phineas had a most peculiar disposition. They saw Reb Yisroel and a number of men deep in study, but Phineas insisted on creating a disturbance.
Not so loud. We are studying.
Which one is Reb Yisroel?
My friend, we spend this hour in silence.
Never mind that. Which one is Reb Yisroel?
If you cannot behave properly, I'm afraid I shall have to ask you to leave.
You over there, are you Reb Yisroel?
Yes, my son. I am Yisroel.
I want to ask you a few questions.
I should be glad to answer, my son. Will you return in an hour?
No, I want my answers now.
Shall I make him go, Reb Yisroel?
No, let him stay. Very well, my son. What are your questions?
The Talmud declares that when a man runs away from honors, honors pursue him. Is that so?
It is so. What is your question?
I have run away from honors, but no honors pursue me. What is the reason, Reb Yisroel?
The reason, my son, is that you keep looking backward.
Now will you let us study in peace? I'm not done. Reb Yisroel, why is it that the pious man is not eager to persuade others to become virtuous, while wicked people always seek companions in wickedness?
Why?
That's my question.
A man of piety walks in light. He is not afraid to walk alone.
Well?
A wicked man walks in darkness. He is anxious for company because it is dark. May we resume our study now?
Not yet. One last question. You pray a good deal, don't you?
I try to.
Have you succeeded through your prayers in bringing it about that the rich should be more generous in their gifts to the poor?
Not altogether, my son, but I have accomplished half my prayer. The poor are willing to accept them.
They laughed while Phineas bit his lip. I might say that it does not pay to antagonize an angel who possesses a peculiar disposition. For Phineas immediately quit the synagogue and spoke to Abner, who had been waiting near the rabbi's house. At once, Abner put on the garments of a beggar, waited until the rabbi returned to his house, and then he knocked on the door.
Yes, my son?
I am a poor man. Give me alms. Alms for the poor man.
Come in, my son. I have no money to give you.
Oh, then you refuse to give charity.
I did not say that, my son. I said only that I have no money. But perhaps I can find something in this chest of drawers. One moment, please.
You're only pretending to look.
Pretending? I'm sure I don't know what's come over people today. Here, take this, and may God go with you.
What is it?
It is a ring. It belongs to my wife. You may have it. Take it, my son, and go in peace.
Good heavens, what has happened here? Yisroel, stick your head out of the book. Look at my chest of drawers.
What is it, my dear?
Yisroel, how can you sit there? The drawers are open, ransacked. There have been burglars.
Hmm?
I said burglars. Look, my ring. It's missing.
Oh, no, my dear. It isn't missing.
But I put it here myself. If it isn't missing, where is it?
A man came. He asked for alms. I had no money, so I gave him your ring.
You did what?
Your ring, my dear. I gave it to him. It is a sin to turn a man away who requests alms.
Yisroel, do you know what you've done? That ring is worth $50.
Ooh, that's a great sum, isn't it, my dear?
Oh, Yisroel, put down that book. I want you to run after that beggar. I want you to run after him this very moment.
I'm glad I caught up to you. I've got a stitch in my side.
I thought so. Well, I expected it. What do you want?
That ring. My wife says...
Yes, what did your wife say?
She says the ring is worth $50.
Well, what about it?
I came to warn you.
What? What's that? You came to warn me?
Yes, of course. My wife does not lie. If she says the ring is worth $50, we may both believe her. Don't let anyone cheat you.
Cheat? Me?
Yes. When you sell it, make sure you get $50. Don't take anything less than that. Not a single penny.
La 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 la
It became necessary for Phineas and Abner to return to the heavenly tribunal and make a preliminary report. The temptation of Reb Yisroel was not proceeding according to plan. And where there had formerly been 3 parties of angels, now there were 6. 2 parties insisted that at Reb Yisroel's death he would take his place among the seraphim. 2 other parties protested that Reb Yisroel was worthy only of a place among the ordinary angels. The remaining parties went into separate caucus, and there were sounds of argument, contention, and strife. I must say that for a while it was difficult to know what heaven was coming to. Phineas and Abner were recalled. In their place, A single angel was sent to Bialystok, a certain Reuben, who was notoriously hot-tempered and ingenious in a nasty sort of way. For Reuben set himself up as a rich man, and then he caused a terrible famine to come to Bialystok.
Yisroel, we're foolish to come here. Reuben won't help.
He must, my dear. There's no one left to turn to.
He's a violent man, Yisroel. Let's go home.
You may go home if you wish, but someone must appeal to him. People are starving.
Please, Yisroel, come home with me.
No, my dear.
Very well. If you stay, I stay.
Well? Reuben, my wife and I...
What about it?
People are starving in Bialystok.
So?
Everyone has helped but you.
So?
My son, I am here to ask you for alms.
Good day.
You turn us away?
I do.
Are you human? You can't turn us away. I will not leave, Reuben.
You won't, eh?
Not until you give me something.
Very well, Reb Yisroel. Come here. Closer.
You struck him. You really struck him. Oh, Yisroel.
My son.
Well?
That slap, my son, that was evidently meant for me. Now, what will you give for the poor of Bialystok?
Reuben stood there, and it was as though he himself had been slapped. And so another chastised angel returned from Bialystok to the heavenly tribunal. And for once, there was no bickering, no tumult or contending angelic voices. That was very significant. Even the heavenly choir was silent, and one voice sang.
La, 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 la.
Only one voice. And it was significant also that he sang Reb Yisroel's Sabbath melody, a song without words. There was a hasty consultation this could never do. Reb Yisroel was influencing heaven. The angels were becoming very solicitous of their observance of heavenly decorum, as though they were ashamed of their past behavior. And suddenly each heavenly day became transformed. It was like the Sabbath day in Bialystok, only every day a Sabbath day. Phineas would meet Abner.
Good Shabbos, Abner.
And Abner would meet Reuben.
Good Shabbos, Reuben.
And Reuben would meet Menachem of Bialystok.
I bring you regards from Bialystok. Your grandson Jonas has become the best marble player. They say also that he's a fair scholar.
There was such sweetness, such amiability on all sides, it was unearthly and rather becoming. Still, there was one small group of angels, insignificant in number really, but quite vocal, who were not convinced that Reb Yisroel could take his place among the seraphim. Among the ordinary angels, yes, without a question. But the seraphim, well, they demanded more evidence. It happened that in Bialystok, Reb Yisroel and the townsmen were observing Yom Kippur, the holy day of atonement. And Reb Yisroel and the congregation asked forgiveness for the sins they had committed against one another. And they asked God to forgive them for the sins they had committed against him. I must tell you that even in heaven, when the chant of Kol Nidra rises on the Day of Atonement, there is much solemnity and even tears. So all of us look down on the congregation of Bialystok, and especially upon Reb Yisroel. We could see everything going on, hear every prayer, observe the actions of every man and woman and child. You must judge of our astonishment when we heard the angry words coming from the mouth of Nachum the tailor. And so we waited for the end of the services, waited for Reb Yisroel to rebuke the tailor.
Nachum, I do not wish to rebuke you, Each man prays to God in his own way, but it is quite wrong.
Wrong to do what, Reb Yisroel?
To scold God.
No, I thought about it, Reb Yisroel. I'm sorry I was angry against him.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. It seemed to me I heard you arguing with God.
I was.
On Yom Kippur?
Is there a better time? I declared to God, you want me to repent of my sins? All right, I repent. But what do I repent?
Yes?
Small sins, very minor things. I said to God, all right. I may have sewed a button with a single thread when I should have used a double thread. I kept leftover cloth, all right. Well, perhaps I ate a meal without first washing my hands and making the benediction. But you, oh Lord, you commit great sins. You take babies away from their mothers. You take mothers away from their babies. So, Lord, let's be even. If you forgive me, I'll forgive you.
That was your argument with God?
Are you going to scold me, Reb Yisroel?
Scold you now? No, I'm not going to scold you. For the things you said with simplicity and with faith. I shan't scold you. Only, Nachum.
Yes, Reb Yisroel?
Nachum, my son. Why did you let God off so easily? The things you said were not entirely false. Why did you let him off so easily? Why didn't you press your advantage? Nachum, don't you see? You could have forced him to forgive all of mankind.
Very irregular, I admit. But there wasn't a single member of the heavenly court who uttered a word of protest. And for the remainder of Reb Yisroel's life on earth, there were no disputes among the angels. Many days were left to him, and he lived each one with goodness. And then, when his spirit rose to heaven, there was a sound of singing outside the portals of the heavenly tribunal.
Reb Yisroel, I await my judgment, Your Honor.
Nice to see you, Reb Yisroel.
It was this very hour, this precise minute and second, 109 years ago, that the soul of Reb Yisroel flew straight to heaven and took his place among the seraphim. Not among the ordinary angels, but among the seraphim. I tell you this as a fact.
If you would like a free copy of the script just heard, write to the Eternal Light, 3080 Broadway, New York, 27, New York. And now, we present Rabbi Aaron Ofer of the Hebrew Tabernacle of Washington Heights of New York City. Rabbi Ofer.
The Hebrew language is the mother tongue of the world's religion. Yet, strangely enough, it has no equivalent for the word religion. The reason for this is that Judaism does not regard religion as something separate and apart, but identical with life. For the prophets and the sages of Israel have taught that habit rather than maxim is the essence of the good life. The love of God translated into acts and attitudes of kindness, that is the core of Judaism. It hath been told thee, O man, what is good, and what the Lord doth require of thee, only to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. This simple code is deemed the heart of piety, which in Hebrew is termed Chassidut. The religious movement known as Hasidism, which sprang up in the 17th century among the Jews of Eastern Europe, epitomized the faith of Israel in terms of pure piety, as allegorized in the Parable of Reb Yisroel. Only to do justly. The thirst for justice knows no bounds in realms human or divine. Wherefore doth the way of the wicked prosper, was the prophet's challenge to the justice of the very creator of the universe. There is something of the prophetic grandeur in Reb Yisroel's comment on the bitterness of a suffering brother. You have let God off too easily. To love mercy, the paramount duty of man on earth, is to love his fellow man, to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, to give shelter to the homeless. Every human being is entitled to mercy, even the sinner, the derelict, the outcast. Even a thief is a human being, and it is our duty to help him. And to walk humbly with thy God. Humility is the soul of piety. A man deserves honor only when he flees from honor. No hypocrite can be a chassid. Piety means the readiness to accept abuse and ridicule in the pursuit of charity without flinching or faltering. The slap, my son, was evidently meant for me. Now, what will you give for the poor? Chassidism is the religiosity of the unsophisticated, of the common man. It manifests Emerson's contention that men are better than their theology. In these days of moral inflation, of high-sounding slogans, of unimplemented charters and declarations, we can learn much from the simple, forthright, genuine piety of a living faith, of practice rather than preachment, of deeds rather than maxims.
Thank you, Rabbi Ofer. Our script today was Morton Wishengrad's fantasy, The Parable of Reb Yisroel. The music was composed by Morris Momorsky and conducted by Milton Cadens. Cantor David Putterman was the soloist. The narrator was Melchior Ferrer, and Juano Hernandez was featured as Reb Yisroel. The entire production was under the direction of Frank Patt. This program is presented each week at the same time by the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations, under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. If you'd like a free copy of today's script, write to The Eternal Light, 3080 Broadway, New York 27, New York.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generation.
The Eternal Light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light. This program is brought to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Today's story by Morton Wishengrad is entitled My Cousin Avigdor, and features Ben Cooper and Michael Artis.
My cousin Avigdor is all right in his way, but he had peculiar ideas. He says that a tree has a soul, and you can't argue with him. He is smaller than I am, but he is much louder. Also, his hands are not always very clean. My cousin Avigdor, he is always grubbing in the ground. He likes to plant trees. My cousin Avigdor is a fanatic. At the north end of the valley of Yisroel. Every year on the 15th day of the month of Shvat, which we call Chamisha Asar B'Shvat, there's a school holiday, and everybody, and my cousin Avigdor, leaves the classroom and goes out into the field, beyond the stockades, and plants trees. That is because the 15th day of Shvat, of the Hebrew calendar, is the New Year's Day of the trees. We do this also because the fields and the hills are naked, like people who have lost their clothes. Everybody plants a tree. That is the ritual. Even Simcha Rosen, who is only going on 5, and doesn't even belong in a classroom. But my cousin Avigdor, he wants to plant 2 trees. My cousin Avigdor is a fanatic. He always says to me, Benjamin, he says, a tree has a soul. Better blow your nose, Avigdor. It's running again.
I don't care. A tree has a soul. This tree that I'm planting is my own brother.
Avigdor, you are crazy.
Stop that, Benjamin. King David will like it.
Don't you think King David is a fancy name for a skinny little tree like that?
King David will rise up like a cedar of Lebanon.
Avigdor, you are very crazy. Orange trees don't grow that high.
Didn't you say that about my brother?
You are nothing but a baby. How can a tree be your brother?
You're jealous. I've got King David, the prophet Ezekiel, Bar Kochba, and Yehuda Halevi. You're jealous of my brothers, Benjamin. I won't listen to you.
My cousin Avigdor, but he has peculiar ideas. Sometimes I think I would like to give him a good kick. But my cousin Avigdor is scrawny, and I'm always afraid I will break something. Sometimes I think that he has it in him to become the national dope of Palestine.
I'm not exactly stealing this fertilizer, but my brothers need it very much.
You see what I mean? Avigdor's brothers need fertilizer. Oh, it's all right to like a tree, but Avigdor carries it too far. He has no shame. Even in the classroom, Avigdor has no shame. A tree has a soul.
You must not say that, Avigdor. Trees are not animate.
A tree has a soul. The Bible says so.
No, you're mistaken.
It says so. I memorized it. When thou shalt besiege a city, in making war against it to take it, thou shalt not destroy the trees thereof, by wielding an axe against them. For thou mayest eat of them, but thou shalt not cut them down, for the tree of the field is man's life.
And that proves that trees have a soul?
The tree is man's life. It's the same as his soul, isn't it? Well, isn't it?
No one laughed, and the teacher didn't say anything, because my cousin Avigdor would have started to cry. And when my cousin Avigdor cries, his nose runs and he gets the hiccup. It was a mistake for the teacher to have kept quiet. After that, even Simcha Rosen, who was only going on 5, and who just hangs around the class, even Simcha began to give names to his trees. I wish the teacher had explained to my cousin Avigdor that a tree doesn't really have a soul, because when the trouble started, it made even more trouble. It started that day when 2 Arab constables drove up to the settlement. My cousin Avigdor sneaked up to listen. He had no business being there, but somebody had to watch my cousin Avigdor, so I listened too.
Jacob,
where are all the men of the settlement?
Some are in the dairy, some are plowing. Why do you ask, Constable?
Call them in, Jacob. Get them all here.
No trouble?
Yes, I think you'd better call them in.
Aaron, you call them in from the dairy.
Yes, Jacob.
Benzion.
Right.
Get Meyer, David, Abraham, one or two others.
I know where they are. And do it quickly. I'll be waiting near the truck. We've brought some rifles.
Constable, I didn't think it was that serious.
Yes, it's serious. I might as well tell you what we know. 2 days ago, at Herzliya, 1,500 fruit trees were burned to the ground.
Constable, a living tree is rather hard to ignite.
Very hard, Jacob. We took that into consideration. One of our men found some empty kerosene drums.
Oh, that's bad.
And that isn't all. Yesterday, 3,000 trees were hacked down in the Balfour forest. An Arab constable caught them at it. They shot him.
Constable, have any of the settlements been attacked?
Not yet, but you can't tell.
Well, thanks for telling us, Constable.
Jacob.
Yes?
I want you to know, over in the Arab settlement, Ibn Musa, Ibrahim, they asked me to tell you that they're coming to help you.
Thank you. That's good. You can tell Ibn Musa and Ibrahim that there are some people who want to make bad feeling between the settlements. We won't let it happen.
I'm glad you see it that way, Jacob. Whoever those vandals are, well, there are plenty of rifles in the truck. If you want more, ask the constabulary.
Thanks again, Constable. We'll know what to do.
Hold on. Jacob, when man gets hold of a gun, sometimes his fingers begin to itch.
Constable, we're farmers. We don't want any trouble.
That's good.
But, Constable, those trees out there...
Yes?
They're more than just trees. They are the promise of this land. Constable, we shan't look for trouble. But we're not going to run away from it.
There will be no class today. Stay inside the walls of the settlement. No one is to go into the field.
Teacher?
No one at all, Avigdor.
You're going out to guard the trees?
Yes. That's where I'm going.
I wish to go with you.
No, this isn't a job for children.
All the children can go with me. We shall put our arms around the trees. And then when they come with their axes, they'll not strike us. No one will strike a child.
Avigdor.
You will let us come?
No, Avigdor. Blow your nose. Just blow your nose.
Teacher went with the others to guard the trees. And Ibrahim and Ibn Musa came from the Arab settlement to help. Some went at night, others went during the day. We could see the watchfires burning from our windows. My cousin Avigdor did not sleep very much. And during the day we could see that he had big black circles under his eyes. So the teacher spoke to Jacob, and my cousin Avigdor was allowed to go out into the fields to see his brother. It was only because of Avigdor that Jacob allowed this. They look all right, don't they, teacher?
Just fine, Avigdor. They're the best trees in the valley of Yisroel.
See? This is my prophet Ezekiel. He is 2 years old.
He has very fine branches.
I think so myself. This is Bar Kokhba. He is also 2 years old. Yehuda Halevi is 1 year old. King David over here is the baby.
Oh.
King David is growing nicely. He will grow like a cedar of Lebanon, even though he is just an orange tree. Yes, Avigdor. Just like a cedar of Lebanon. When I planted him, you said I was wrong.
The watchman is signaling it's time to go home.
No one will hurt them, teacher. They will guard the trees.
Day and night.
No one must hurt them. Because a tree has a soul. Yes, of course. And because God said, let the earth put forth grass, herb yielding seed, and fruit tree bearing fruit after its kind. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, herb yielding seed after its kind, and tree bearing fruit. And God saw that it was good. There was evening. There was morning. A third day.
Come home, Avigdor. It's getting late. And don't worry. Tonight, I shall watch your trees myself.
Who's there? I said, who's there? Stop or I'll shoot. Raise your hands and walk toward the fire.
Avigdor!
I came to help you guard the tree.
You crazy little fool. We're not playing a game.
I know, teacher. I brought a pitchfork.
Good Lord, give it to me.
I want to help.
Avigdor, you give me that pitchfork. Come here. Don't you know there was a raid on Mishmar last night?
That's why I came.
No noise.
Why? I won't make a sound.
Lie down across my knee.
What are you going to do?
What do you think I'm going to do?
What you're going to do?
Don't you dare make a sound. Absolute silence.
Maybe you better wait until tomorrow. I cry very easily.
No crying, Avigdor. I'm a teacher in a progressive school. I never struck a child in my life. But this is too much. Over my knees. And don't you dare make a sound. Not a word. Not a single word. Don't you dare cry. That's for disobeying and coming out here. That's for stealing a pitchfork. That's for endangering every man on the night watch. And that's because I'm angry. Now you can get up. Does it hurt?
Of course it hurts.
Here. Take this. But don't blow loud.
How can I blow if I don't blow loud?
Not another word.
When the teacher brought him back to the settlement, my cousin Avigdor's mother was so relieved, she gave my cousin Avigdor another thrashing. This time he cried. For 3 nights, there was no more trouble. Then, on the 4th night, Ben Zion and Simcha Rosen's father were ambushed in a south field. The night watch carried them back, all bloody and wounded.
Jacob, where are those men going? Where are you going?
Where do you think, Constable? We're going to protect our trees.
You've lost your mind.
Oh, have we?
That's just what those hoodlums want. They'll pick you off one by one, then they'll come for the settlement itself.
Constable, they'll never get within shooting distance of these houses.
I'm responsible for lives and property in this district. Jacob, I say you stay here. Lives are more important.
No, sir. They got the trees at Mishmar HaEmek. They got the trees in Balfour Forest. Constable, they're not going to change this land back into a desert and a wilderness. Trees haven't got legs. They can't run away. They've got to be defended.
I tell you, man, they'll come for the settlement. This isn't the work of just a few hoodlums.
Jacob, Constable, they're coming.
Aaron, close that gate. Meyer, get the children and the women into the houses. Even Musad, turn those floodlights on. Get those lights working.
We could see Jacob and the constable shooting out into the blackness. Ben Theon and Simcha Rosen's father were wounded. but we could see them firing at the other men. Then, from the south field first, and then from the other field, we could see the fires. Our trees were burning. When thou shalt besiege a city, and making war against it to take it, thou shalt not destroy the trees thereof. There were no more shots, only smoke curling into the sky like a big feather on a woman's hat. The children came out of the houses and stood with the men, and no one said a word for a very long time.
How many are wounded?
6 men.
Anyone hit bad?
No. We were lucky.
Yes, we were lucky.
Jacob, there's no use just standing here. We've got to go out and see what they've done.
We'll go out. Assemble the men.
Not right now, Jacob. Might be dangerous.
All right, Constable. We'll wait.
Cheer up, man. Could have been worse.
If not for you, we could have saved those trees. Why didn't you let us alone? Why did you have to come here and... Yes. It could have been worse. I'm sorry, Constable.
That's all right, Jacob. There's a little boy here who wants to speak with you.
Huh? Oh. Well, Benjamin, what is it?
It is my cousin Avigdor.
What about him?
He isn't here.
Oh, you'll find him somewhere. Just look again.
We looked all over.
Look in the dairy. Look in the hen yard. You'll find him someplace.
The teacher looked, Jacob. Avigdor isn't here.
Get those men, Aaron.
Right.
We're going out to find the boy.
No, Jacob. You can't do that.
Stop telling us what we can do and what we can't do. If that boy is out there, we're going to find him and bring him back.
Easy, Jacob. Don't lose your head.
I'll do anything I want to do.
Jacob.
Come on, Aaron.
Stay where you are, Aaron.
Constable, take your hand off his arm.
Easy, man. Easy. No, you're tired.
Yes, I'm tired. So what? So I'm tired. Constable, take your hand off his arm. We're going to find the boy.
Not now.
I say now.
Jacob, later. You'll find him later.
Constable, this isn't your business. Keep your hand off.
Jacob, even the Tsar and Ibrahim came here to help. They came from the Arab settlement. You might say it wasn't their business either. If you go out there, you and those men, you may not come back. I think that is my business, Jacob.
The constable is right, Jacob.
You know I'm right, Jacob. For all we know, the boy is somewhere in the settlement.
We can look again, Jacob.
Yes. Aaron, you go with Benjamin. Try the dairy again. Try every house. Find the boy. Yes?
I've gone through the dairy again. I've looked in the schoolhouse. Avigdor isn't there.
Jacob, we've searched every cellar and every garret. He isn't here.
Aaron?
Same thing. There's no sign of Avigdor.
At least we've made certain, Jacob.
What do you suggest now, Constable?
First, we clean our rifles. Then we wait until the light is stronger. Then we go out and look.
I went with them to look for my cousin Avigdor. We went through the fields, which were black with smoke, and we counted the places where the trees had once stood. When we reached a rise of ground, we could look down and see the place where on the 15th day of the month of Shvat, the children had come each year to plant their trees. And there, the young trees were uprooted and pulled out of the ground. It was the teacher who saw my cousin Avigdor first. My cousin Avigdor didn't hear us, for he was busy making a grave. We stood on the rise of ground, and we saw him put the young trees into the grave. And when we came close, we heard him speak. My cousin Avigdor was speaking the Kaddish, the prayer for the dead. Yiskadav v'yiskadash, Shmei Rabo. Beyond more divorce, you say.
Yamli Malusay. King David. Good little King David. I've covered all your branches. They didn't even give you a chance to live. And you had no legs. You couldn't run away. You would have grown higher than the cedars of Lebanon. King David, you would have grown twice as high. And you... Oh, King David.
The grave of his brothers. We took my cousin Avigdor home, and my cousin Avigdor's mother washed his face and put his head in her lap and rocked him back and forth as though he was smaller than Simcha Rosen, who was only going on 5. And then my cousin Avigdor and I and the teacher and Simcha Rosen and Simcha Rosen's father, we all went back to the field. And Simcha Rosen's father sang.
No hagidi yaledati, no hagidi hendati.
Don't cry anymore, Avigdor. We shall replant the trees.
I'm not crying.
I've promised the trees will be replanted. For every tree cut down, 100 trees will stand.
The prophet Ezekiel, Bar were 2 years old. They had very fine branches.
The finest branches in the world.
Yehuda Halevi was 1 year old.
Blow your nose, Avigdor.
And King David was only a baby. But he would have grown higher than the cedars of Lebanon. Oh, teacher, King David was only a baby.
If you would like a free copy of the script just heard, write to the Eternal Light, 3080 Broadway, New York 27, New York. And now we present Dr. Benjamin H. Birnbaum, Rabbi of the Ner Tamed Congregation of Northtown, Illinois, speaking from Chicago. Dr. Birnbaum.
Little Avigdor, the hero of the story presented at this broadcast, in honor of the Jewish festival known as the New Year's Day of the Trees, brings vividly before our attention a reminder of the age-old story of destructiveness that has been unfolded before the eyes of man in the course of many centuries. These centuries have witnessed man's titanic struggle against the many forces that sought to undermine his influence and to pave the way for his eventual disappearance. First came the forces of superstition. Then came the forces of tyranny. That great colossus, the mighty machine, what a tyrant that turned out to be. It sought to make man accept the belief that all that matters in the world is the production of vast quantities of materials and goods. Slowly but surely, it silenced man's inner voice that sought for freedom of expression and for the fulfillment of his noblest dreams. Superstition, tyranny, and the philosophy of materialism, each in turn, made their claim to supplant man's inherent faith. With the elimination of God from his thinking, the dignity and the worth of man created in God's image continue to shrink to such a degree that the slaughter of millions of human beings has become a blot on the history of civilization. With the discovery of the atomic bomb comes the challenge for the awakening of man from his deep slumber. The voices of the David and of the Ezekiels of an earlier day, like those of the Lincolns and the Jeffersons of a later period, again rise above the din of materialism and physical might and repeat to us the thought that they sought to impart throughout the ages. It is the message that the collective voice of an aroused people, of a people that will not permit itself to be prejudiced by superstition, by tyranny, that this and this alone is the true voice of God. We dare not permit the soul of man to be silent, because it was with the help of that soul that he was able to prevail over the forces that sought his destruction. In the words of the immortal Theodore Herzl, who reminded his people half a century ago, when he summoned them to make articulate their historic claim to their ancient homeland, and recalled to them the great lesson of history, that the forces of social justice must eventually triumph over all antagonistic forces. If you but will, it need not remain a legend.
Thank you, Dr. Birnbaum. The Eternal Light is written by Morton Wishengrad. The music was composed by Morris Mamorsky and conducted by Milton Catons. Cantor David Putterman sang the liturgical music. The narrator was Ben Cooper, and the boy Avigdor was played by Michael Artis. Today's story was suggested by A Brother's Grave, written by Ari Ibn Zahav. The entire production was under the direction of Frank Papp. This program...